Hello and welcome to my channel. Melinda here with you today, and I am sharing my take on the awesome sketch challenge over at ScrappingClearly. Here is the sketch, and you'll notice that I have sort of swapped sides a little bit and made my cluster a bit smaller. As normal, I cannot resist but put some stuff in the background. So I started with some of the very awesome shiny mica powders from Colour Blast. Now Kylie doesn't have these ones in stock, but the shimmer powders you could do exactly the same thing with. I've just got some of the colour that I wanted to use and mixed it with some clear gloss, maybe matte, medium, I can't remember which. I've started with green. I wanted to match that green of that Heidi Swapp September Skies paper there. And I don't end up with an exact match, but I'm quite happy with the colour I did get. So I've started with the green and I've added in some yellow, and I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. I do wish, and I realised this as I started putting the texture paste on, that I'd made a bit more because I don't quite have enough, and that's part of the reason why my cluster ends up a bit smaller. But at the end of the day, I love how this page turned out. It's so fun and it just captures the moment. I'm scrapping a photo of my boys on the trampoline that Santa bought them for Christmas. On Boxing Day morning last year, we were getting ready to head up to my in-laws' place and we couldn't find them. They were really quiet and we were like, where are the children? Then we hear them laughing out the back, and sure enough, they had crept out the backyard. Well, they probably didn't creep, we just weren't paying enough attention, and they were bouncing in the trampoline and they were just so happy. And I said to them, come on boys, it's time to go so that we can, go see the rest of the family for Christmas. And they were like, can we just bounce a bit longer on the Bouncealine? And so the trampoline has been renamed the Bouncealine. When the big guy gets home from school, the little guy says to him, brother, you want to come and play on the Bouncealine with me? And it sort of stuck. So they love their trampoline. And I just wanted to document how funny it was that they insisted on going out and playing on it rather than going and getting more gifts. Just goes to show what matters to them. As you can see, I've mixed up that colour and popped it through a stencil and onto some white cardstock. I trim my photo down, and then as you'll see, I continue to trim my photo down because, like I said, I didn't quite make enough texture paste. But that's okay. I've already said it. I really like how the page came out. So I am going to stick pretty closely to the sketch with the layers and stuff. And yeah, I'm just sort of pulling out the papers that I'm using from the September Skies range. Love this range. Kylie sent this to me in my last design team pack. I love the colours. I love the patterns. It's one of my favourite collections. So I'm just layering up the patterns and the colours that I'm happy with. And I do this for a little while because, as I mentioned, I do trim it all down a bit more because I'm not happy that I covered all that pretty texture paste. That dot paper is just beautiful. On one end it's a lighter tealy, bluey, greeny colour, and then it gets darker down to a navy blue, and I love it. And here we go with the trim. Cut it all down a bit more. My very technical way of measuring without measuring, just putting a mark in with my nail. A little trick I learned from the amazing Shimel. I'm pretty sure I trimmed them down a bit more again from here, and as you can see, I realised that I had made the texture paste a bit too small, and I just flipped the page and flipped the page and flipped the page to work out exactly how I'm going to do it. And like I said, I do end up trimming it down a bit more. I think I trim down that back blue piece a little bit more, and then I leave it alone. I do add a couple of, I think 3 layers of tissue paper behind the photo. yeah, let's turn the page a few more times and turn the photo cluster, and I gave up and switched the camera off until I knew what I wanted to do. So I just used my tiny attacher to attach all those layers together. I like the lift without everything being stuck down 100%. And again, I trim my tissue paper a bit too big, so I cut a little bit off and a little bit off and a little bit off. Excuse me. Popping that up on some foam, some fun foam, just to give a little bit of dimension between the layers. And flicking all the corners up a bit, just to give them a bit of lift and texture. I use double-sided tape and wet glue to stick onto my modelling paste or my whatever medium I put in the background, because otherwise it just does not stick. Found that all my layers there were moving a bit, so a bit more glue. I think next I'm going to work on the corners here. So I knew that I wanted to use this green because I'd used so little of it in the cluster there. So I just put some tape down onto the white cardstock and then just stuck my green down where I wanted it. I had to get some technical help from my husband on how to get it so that the two lines were the same, and it really was, I made it way more complicated than it needed to be, but I ended up getting my T-squared ruler and just measuring a point, I can't remember exactly what it was, but a point up near the top corner where I thought I wanted the other corner, and went as far over as I could and measured the same distance again and just drew a pencil line in. My husband is so kind and supportive. Here we go with the measuring. Just marking my pencil lines in and then just drawing that line across, adding some tape again to the paper rather than, like, to the background paper rather than the pattern paper, and just sticking the corner down. I end up using some of those offcuts of the spotty paper as well, just to bring a bit more colour. And I just stick that underneath the edge of the green. I really love these colours together, the teal and the navy and that lime green. So stick that down and then make sure that the edge isn't stuck down, because I knew I wanted to go over it with my sewing machine and then flick it up a little bit. Same in the top corner. Now you can't see it here, and I crack me up sometimes with some of the dumb things I do. I've actually not left quite enough room on one edge that the paper goes all the way to the edge, and I end up taking that. I did try to stick a little piece on, but I ended up taking that piece off and then putting another strip down and making sure it overhangs on both sides. Because I'm sure that, in generations to come, they're going to scrutinise my scrapbooks and go, she missed a tiny little bit here. But much happier with that. It goes all the way to both edges. No funny little gaps. I intentionally put the lighter colour of the spots up in the top right hand corner and the darker in the bottom left hand corner. These alphas are from Cocoa Vanilla Studio, the Made of Awesome range. Sorry for the awesome headshot that you continue to get for a little while, but just putting my title letters down. It's going to be Bouncealine Fun. There you go. I had all of these, they're Colour Magic pieces by Heidi Swapp. I had them all pre-spritzed. I was going to use them on a different project. And I just, because I often use this colour combination when I'm using this range. So I just pulled those out, and I love how they look on here. They just give a bit of fun, a bit of movement, and I can't say no to stars. I've typed up my journaling on my typewriter, and I'm just going to stick it on that piece of paper because I did want to document the story. I am predominantly a story documenter, and the pretty paper just makes it fun. So I'm going to stick that big star down with some foam and some tape or wet glue, just so that it's even with the photo. Gone to my sewing machine and stitched down the title and stitched along those two corner pieces, and then realised that I managed to get glue all over my scissors because I put my star down with the glue on the back and then put my scissors on top. Who else does dumb things like that? I do them all the time. So just ruffling up the edges a little bit for a bit more texture. Then I'm going to go in and stick all of my embellishments down. And I think again I use a combination of wet glue and foam and double-sided tape. My process is almost done here. I can see that the close-ups are coming. So, excuse me. So you just watch me put the rest of the pieces together, and I do a little bit of stamping. I can't remember if I do that on camera or not. But yeah, just the final few touches. You've still got a few days to enter the sketch challenge for this month, and remember, if you entered last month and this month and next month, you go into the draw for extra prizes, which is awesome. Kylie's so generous, not only with our DT kits, but also with the prizes she gives. So make sure that you enter, especially if you did last month. Here are the close-ups. Thank you so much for stopping by, and make sure you enter our challenges. And this weekend as well, we've got the fun spring cyber crop happening, so make sure you head over and check that out as well. I'll put a link in the bottom for the Facebook group. Have a fantastic scrappy weekend. I know that when I have free time this weekend, that's exactly what I'll be doing. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.